Okay.
Okay. Hello, everybody. It's a good time for questions if you got them. You can put them in the chat.
Could I ask my question with the mic instead of typing it in?
Sure.
Oh, please
Great.
do. Please do. Hi,
Okay.
Therese.
Hi, guys. So we have our gardenia plant down here, great big bush, and
Yeah.
and it's getting quite tall, so all the flowers are way up at the top.
I have
So
walked
I guess
under gardenias. Yes.
yes, exactly. So I was hoping last year I cut like half of it, and it is filling in a little bit, but it's okay to do that, right? To take off the other half this year so that the
Yeah.
flowers
Yeah.
are
Do that.
lower.
You might find that
Okay.
it'll speed up the new suckers because when you only take part of it out and you've got so much light down there, there wasn't enough need on the plant's part to get back up into the light, and there was still enough shade over its head.
Yep.
But yeah, you can
Okay.
back pretty viciously. Well, no,
Thank you, guys.
it's wrong to use the word gardenia and viciously in the same place. They're just too pretty to be treated viciously. Yeah.
Well, but the flowers smell so magnificent. They're 7 feet up in the air. You can't enjoy them, so that's
Yeah.
why I wanted.
This is the point about lilacs. People let lilacs get 2 stories tall. And that's fine if you've got a 2nd-story bedroom and you wanted to have the lilac smell through your window. But most of the time, people don't realize that at the Arboretums, Lilacia Park in Illinois, up on Mackinac Island, they keep those cut to be about 6 or 7 feet tall so that the flowers are in your nose.
Arnold is on a slope.
And yeah, Arnold's on a slope, so you can't help.
Yeah.
Thanks, Priscilla. Thanks, Karen.
What Karen wonders where we are. We're in Valparaiso, Indiana.
I think it's Valparaiso.
Valparaiso. Sorry.
The Porter
to
County,
locals.
the Porter County Master Gardeners, the Michiana Master Gardeners, Michigan, Indiana Master Gardener Group
Gardeners. Yep.
is having a garden expo tomorrow, and we're the opening speaker. So this is our 29th Free for All Friday, and it's the
Time
to start.
flies.
2 minutes. Probably most people are here already.
We'll see.
We have been reviewing what's been happening in the 28 previous Fridays and comparing that to what we set out to do. And we don't really want to put all of the time and expense into a webinar every single Saturday. Let's do the webinars monthly, and we'll go for the bigger names. And on Friday, we'll open up to the world because it's fun to hear the questions that people have. Well, Janet gets carried away. Is that how it happens, Steve?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Steve, can you give me a few pictures?
I get carried away on those. Okay, I'm not perfect.
Okay. And we put so much material in, and we have so many things to talk about that we think that our friends, you who come here to, what did I just read to you that Jean said? It's her Friday fun night.
Yeah.
Friday, come here for Friday fun night, are kind of just sitting back and listening, which is great, except that our objective was to go back to the days of when I was writing for the newspaper. We would get 72 questions in a week, and they ranged from my neighbor wants to put a copper nail into my tree to kill it, will that work, to why doesn't my lilac bloom, to how come my poinsettia died back?
Why isn't my hydrangea blue?
Oh yeah, why is my hydrangea blue? To which kind of fertilizer do I need? I mean, it would be like playing ping pong back and forth. We had all kinds of things to look up. So tonight we were changing up just a little bit, maybe just a lot. But I tried it out on Steve and it worked fine. Hey, Steve.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Good evening and welcome to Free for All Friday. It's our 29th version.
Yeah.
And
everybody's welcome. We're celebrating growing, we're cultivating problem solving, coming to you from gardenatoz.org.
That's us. I'm Stephen Nicola.
I'm Janet McConovich. And we have been working at this for quite a while through our website, gardenatoz.org. I hope that you know that it's there. We've been doing our best to put information there that people asked about. and that we got as much practical input as we could from experts in the field or from hands-on
Yep.
in various places. And we bring these live Free-for-All Fridays to you in order to continue that work, because we've been writing for 40 years and helping people garden as well as running our gardening business. And it's a delight, and it is a huge privilege to have so much information and want to do something with it. So we put it onto the web so that we could get to it and refer people to it. And that's what we try to do here. So, and tell people about it. If they want to come to a Free-for-All Friday, they don't even need to be on our mailing list already. They can just go to our website, to the main menu, which is up in the top. Up in the main menu is under gardenatz.org, and click Fridays. This page will come up, and the link for the meeting is always right there. So they can say, okay, I'm going to go on.
David is asking, any thoughts on what to say to those down south like Louisiana who now confront the sudden onslaught of snow and cold? How do they nurse their plants back?
The nice thing about talking to people who get snow, who haven't had snow before, is that you are the expert, but you're an expert in a little bit different way. Snow on plants that are not hardy might kill them back, but snow actually insulates the ground and makes it more likely that if something does die back, they can cut it back and it's just going to come back from the crown, because it's very unlikely that the crown is going to die. The crowns of plants are much less hardy than the tops of the plants. So if you take the crown of a coral bell, I think it's down to 24 degrees, it starts forming ice crystals in the cells, which is going to explode the cells and kill the crown. But the top can go to 20 below. And so most of those plants that are down there, if they die back, it's unlikely that the crown died back, because this ground didn't have that time to get that warm, and the snow may actually have helped insulate it. But just say, it is the way that things are going now. Boy, snow. Yeah, our friends in South Carolina. Martha, how much snow did you have? Shelley had 3 inches and sent me pictures. It's awful to see.
Yeah.
Awful to see live oaks with.
After having been there and felt the environment, to see it in snow really made me think that was AI.
Yeah.
But
if they can just survive the driving and et cetera, because there's no snow plows, the roads aren't crowned to drain the water off when an ice might form. They don't have salt stocks like we have up here. It is a hard thing to do. Yeah.
Elizabeth says they have cut back the metal sweet and the 9 bark in the last 15 years at the rain garden, but not the elderberry. I want to cut them right down. Will they come back if I do that? I think in my memory of the elderberry that they'll be fine.
In general, elderberry comes back very strong. Some people, Christopher Lloyd, for instance, used it as a foliage annual. He had a gold elderberry in the border, and he cut it all the way back to the ground every year and got a 5-foot elderberry out of it. If the elderberry has a problem, I've cut back an elderberry that when I cut it back, I went, why is this stem hollow? Why is that stem hollow? If the elderberry has a problem, and elderberries can get elderberry borer in them, you might not get the kind of response that you should normally get. But in general, elderberries grow very fast and a little crazy. Might be a little twiggier than you want when it comes back, so you might want to thin it out. Okay.
No, Squeaks just wants to wish Tracy a happy birthday.
Oh, Therese, that's cool. Leave it there.
Okay.
This is a week when we should be going outside. I know it was cold. I was out there leveling the bird bath in the cold. So I know it's cold out there. But if we would go out in the cold, go outside and play, which most of us don't do, we might be able to make it through our mudrooms, because there's so many boots and shoes and slippers and ski boots stuff stacked up right now that they're in our way. Get outside.
Whoops.
And look around, because we've gotten emails from a couple people who did just that, and we try to do just that. We were admiring the dill in the snow. The dill seed heads are outstanding in the snow. Of course, it'll mean there'll be 1 million dills coming up this spring. But we need to go outside, but it does make us look and think a little bit. Gretchen, if you're here, I got your email, and I wish that I could have downloaded the pictures in time, because I think that's a red twig dogwood sprouting in a vase that she had
Oh.
a Christmas decoration. And look,
Yep.
it's nice to see things sprouting. You can even bring branches in. We've had enough cold now. You can bring branches in from a flowering plant that has buds on it, and you can put them in water, soak them real good, put them in the sun, keep them cool, and you'll find that you can force things to bloom, which is really nice. So, any questions?
Nope, just a thank you from Free.
Okay. Then, uh-oh, and I had you move on top of the numbers.
Go
no.
back.
I can't because you have control. Okay. So we can just go in order for a little while.
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to turn the table, as we were explaining just before we officially started. We wanted to stimulate questions, and we may have thrown too much information into here, and there's not enough questions going on.
Ready?
Yep. So this week we have questions for you. You might want a piece of paper and a pencil, unless you're better than I am at remembering more than three things at a time. Because there are a couple of lists that you're going to look at here. We're going to start with
Oops.
Farming, agriculture, crops, things that we grow in gardens and that are grown and feed the world. Tell me if you can figure this one out. Carrots from Roman times into the 1600s were, were this or this rather than orange. The orange varieties were developed in the Netherlands during the 1600s. Make your guess. What color were they before the orange varieties were developed? Click the buttons. Ooh. Good guesses. Got a guess of yellow or white, purple or white, purple or white?
Red or yellow. Oops.
And yes, they're in the Netherlands, where they claimed all that land from the sea in order to farm more. They were yellow or purple before that. Which is rather, if you look at a plant like, this might be midwinter fire. It's a red twig dogwood, but look at all the yellow and orange that's in there. And many of you who have red twig dogwood also know that in the wintertime, in the deep wintertime, it's red purple. All of those carotenes in the cells are there. You just got to select for them. Okay. Weren't they hybridized for the Duke of Orange? Oh, Therese, that's wonderful. I did not see that in any of the things we were looking in, but that would be a wonderful
That would really
thing.
fit.
Especially
the
for the-
Netherlands too.
And the Duke of Orange, isn't that the guy that was at Wellington's side?
But he
That-
was a prince at that time.
It was a prince? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He was.
Or he was orange.
Yeah, okay. Midwinter fire. Okay, when what were introduced in Northern Europe in the late 1500s? They were assigned to the flower garden as pretty, but not nutritious and may be poisonous. It was a full 200 years before they would be commonly eaten raw. What goes in there? Uh-oh, can't fool these people.
Tomatoes,
Can't fool these people.
tomatoes.
Got it. Tomatoes. Whoops. And aren't they still? They are head and shoulders above anything else for what people like to grow.
Just move fast. I just want to make sure we're not missing. Okay.
They are in the nightshade family, and that was exactly what the problem was. Nightshade, could this be like deadly nightshade? Could this be poisonous? Because they are in the same family. And you know, you think about it, these were the little tomatoes before people really got hybridizing them. Those cherry tomatoes can look kind of pretty. I've often looked into a garden and gone, oh, what's red blooming over there? And it's really just the tomatoes. But they are in the nightshade family, the Solanaceae family. So blank were also considered dangerous, cooked only into pies and flavored with cinnamon, sugar, and wine. Well, it's a good recipe, Diane. Diane's guessing rhubarb.
That's a good, yeah, that tastes good.
Mincemeat.
Eggplant.
Cool.
Apples.
Apples, now see, apples is what I would have guessed. If
I
had
would have
to.
guessed apples too. Because of Eve and the apple.
Okay. It's potatoes. They also came from the Americas. They're also in the Solanaceae, the nightshade family. And why they would think, well, there are a lot of plants that are toxic if eaten, that if you boil them and throw the water out and boil them again and throw the water out, you can cook out some of the toxins. And maybe they were thinking that that would happen with the wine would absorb the toxins. Okay. I'm going to let you read most of this because my screen is a little bit blocked. This was a morale booster for the Union Army during Civil War. Each soldier was provisioned with 36 pounds per year, but Union blockades of southern port cut its availability greatly because the Brazil to Louisiana had been the major import route. Enter the Northern abolitionists, free labor movement, importing and selling goods made without slavery, and the Massachusetts connection to African Americans who had emigrated to the new Republic of Liberia. Trade began with growers of this crop in Liberia. Well supplied with it, Union morale rode high, higher than the Confederates. What is that? What was it that was a morale booster? 36 pounds a year per soldier coming from Liberia.
Coffee.
Tobacco.
Bananas, sugar cane,
Dates.
dates, sweet potatoes.
Peanuts. Boy, these are
Peanuts.
good guesses.
Yeah,
But at the time,
1860s.
yeah, at the time, coffee was a fairly new drink. Tea had been the drink up until then. And doctors said that caffeine energized people and it instructed all soldiers to start the day with coffee. So they had real coffee in
And-
the Union.
And the Confederates had chicory coffee, and they tried to make coffee out of everything. I've been reading quite a few history books lately, and the General Lee getting a real cup of coffee.
It was really
The
something.
description was really something.
Or even on the holidays when there was a truce and the troops would meet each other, the Confederates would come over to trade. They were trading for coffee.
They would trade their tobacco,
But
which they had.
36 pounds a year.
Yeah.
That's a lot of coffee.
Yep.
Okay, rhubarb, since we had rhubarb here as a guess, it debuted in Europe as a medicinal plant. Its roots are used as what can you use the roots of rhubarb for?
Whoa, that went fast.
Michelle, I'm right with you. Who were the people that tried things and decided it wasn't poisonous? I have a book about North American native plants and native people's uses of them. And in the introduction, they explain that, and this is just in North America in this particular situation, but maybe the same thing happened there. A group of people, a village, a tribe, would have a medicine person that you would go to if you had complaints. If you had a complaint that was out of that person's normal range of operating, they would refer you to another shaman, medicine person in a different village who had figured out how to do that. And that person, of course, was training an apprentice. But yeah, who found out that you get killed by something? How many people did it take eating it before some shaman went, okay, all right, what did you just eat? That's what you shouldn't eat anymore. What really amazes me are the ones that, yeah, powerful laxative. It's a powerful laxative. What really amazes me are the things like poison hemlock is quite poisonous, but so is it's called papoose root, blue cohosh. But somebody figured out that if you give someone blue cohosh after they've eaten water hemlock, they have a chance to survive. Oh, that's just amazing stuff. Okay, we won't get caught up on that.
The
second
questions,
opinion, yeah.
a lot of questions went by so fast because of all
It's a
the,
little screen.
it's a little screen.
You can go. I don't think we missed any up there.
No, somebody was asking about red twig
Ah,
dogwood
there we go.
there.
Okay, so we got a question about a red twig dogwood and a curly willow that also rooted in my arrangement. My willow is at least 20 feet tall now. Wow. Wow. Yeah, those curly willows, twisted willows are fast growing plants and can be incredible decorations. You could make some money selling the twigs to a florist. We worked for a little while on with a gardener on Cape Cod who put himself through college selling hydrangeas to florists.
Yep.
When it was hydrangea season, he would just simply go through the neighborhood saying, "Can I trim your hydrangea?" And he'd take the hydrangeas and take them to the florist.
And Susan, her neighbor, gifted her a calla lily for it in a pot for Christmas. How do I care for it?
Calla lilies are marginally hardy for us. I put a calla lily ages ago, maybe 6, 7 years ago, out by the foundation of our son's house because my daughter-in-law's mom really loves calla lilies. And it came back for 3 or 4 years until we had a really cold spell. So you can just keep it going as a house plant, and there's very little that you need to do except they do well in lower light. You don't have to keep them in real bright light, but they're not going to do well in no light at all. So put them in a window that's got some light and keep them watered when they dry down. Don't overwater them. And you can plant it out in the summer. And then if you want to give a chance, take a chance and see if you can keep it over the winter, go for it. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Button bush to look that bright really
It was that one split second that the camera took it too.
well,
No, they do look, this one was very healthy.
and if
And
they're
looked
growing
really
in
well.
water, I mean, if they're growing in water at the edge of a lake, it's
Yeah.
entirely different than growing in a
That was
garden.
Sue Leach's first place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not their normal seagull. We've been admiring the stems of these pearly everlasting irises and things in our garden right now in the snow. They might have looked a little ragged to people up until now, but now they look quite
In the
interesting.
snow, they're
Yeah.
very cool sculptures.
Okay, on to, we got still more questions for you. Forget Top Gun, think top grain. So now some questions about grains. The information that we used here came from the most recent UN report we could find on food and agriculture production worldwide. There may be some newer numbers someplace, but tracking it back, a lot of people go to this. So any numbers that you've got here, they came from this, which is great. It's got an executive summary, which is really cool, and a lot of charts, and also a lot of words to read through. Graphs. Okay, what are the 3 most grown grain crops in the world? Let's see if you can get them in order. Okay, Judith and Sue have got corn, wheat. Sweet rice. Big votes for rice, huh?
Mhm.
Big votes for rice.
Well, they think of Asia.
You're in the right place, though.
Yeah.
You're in the right place. Corn is number 1. Corn is king. What did I tell you on the way here? 1.5 billion tons a year of corn grown. Now that might be a little bit overblown in terms of food crop because it is also being used for, what's that called?
Ethanol
Ethanol.
and other stuff.
Right. But it still lists on their agricultural site as number 1. Number 2 is rice, which you knew.
Yeah.
And wheat is number 3. Which of those 3 grains, the corn, rice, or wheat, takes more acres in the world than the other 2? Which one takes more room to grow? Everybody's right on the line that I was on.
Mhm. pretty much unanimous.
Yeah,
That's what I said. There's a rice guess,
we're pretty much
another rice guess.
majority are thinking that it's corn. It's wheat. More acres devoted to wheat than almost the other two combined, not quite. Why? I'm not sure.
Well, you think about it, to get a lot of wheat, they just have like grass compared to corn.
Oh, exactly. That's right. We ended up looking at the
The amount.
genetic modifications on rice and corn have made you get a lot more out of a plant. That we've modified wheat too, but maybe not quite to such extent.
Yeah.
Which two countries grow most of the number 2 grain, rice? Which two countries grow most of that rice for the world? Don't let the guesses of other people sway you here. Susan and Nancy got this one. China is number 1. And Jocelyn and I was thinking the Netherlands too. They got all that swampy ground, right? China with India number 2. China's number 1. India's number 2. Yeah, I thought, yeah, maybe the Netherlands, maybe it's what they're doing. Nope. Which two countries grow most of the number 1 grain, corn? Chanting back.
I say
US.
Ukraine, USA, United States, Russia, USA,
And
Canada, Ukraine. US, Argentina, US, China, US, Ukraine.
Okay, Tanya's reading the book here.
US.
But you're right. We grow the most. But coming in second is China. Good, because if we put a tariff on that, we'd be in trouble, but we have enough of it of our own. Now I get 3 countries to grow the number 3 crop, wheat. Who grows the most wheat? 1, 2, 3. Watch Tanya get this one right too. Barb's got USA in number 1 for the wheat. This one surprised
This
me.
one's harder. Yeah,
Yeah, this one surprised me. Surprised Steve.
the US out there.
Steve tried it on paper first.
Brazil. Say Brazil. USA, Russia, Argentina, Russia, USA, Argentina, China, USA, Brazil.
Okay, well, I'll tell you that number 1 is China. Grows the most wheat. Blew me away. I said China. Number 2 is India. 3 is Russia. So all this bit about being the breadbasket to the world?
Yeah.
Nope, we changed to the corn
basket.
Yeah. China, India, and Russia grow most of the wheat. Any questions or comments about any of that? And tell me whether or not this is, well, you can tell us at some point when we see you, whether this works for you to pass the time on your fun Friday night. Better than going outside and getting into the snow.
Nancy's got a hand up.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Oh, okay. When I think about the wheat, I always remember one kind of grass that looks like it has wheat things on it, and it's native here. But
there are so many grasses that are native here. Nancy's asking about thinking about wheat, thinking about grasses, and one that's native here that has big glooms on it, big seeds on it.
I mean,
There are I
go crazy. Oh,
many of the native grasses do go crazy. I mean, it's what grass is actually a top dog plant as you move further west on the continent. As the area gets drier, grass succeeds over trees and shrubs, and we're on the edge of that I decided one year that I was going to try to learn the native grasses and the grasses that were there. It's 2 volumes, 2 big, thick volumes of grasses that are native, and many of them are native in Michigan. So which one it is that you're looking at, I'm not sure. I know that foxtail, which is sticky, the seeds come out and they get stuck in you. It's got big blooms on it and grows around like crazy. So does prairie love grass, but there are so many of them. You might, and even if you send us a picture, we're going to need a really
Oh,
close
yeah,
picture
grass is
because you
hard.
have to look at how the leaf attaches to the stem and how the flowers work. So who do we know who's into grasses? That wasn't Tony's. Tony's in sedges.
Yep. Sedges and
Yeah, we'll have to
grasses.
find a grass person for you to figure that one out. Where does wild rice fit in? I didn't see wild. Sorry, I might be jumping ahead of you, Steve. You're supposed to be watching.
No, go ahead.
David's asking, where does wild rice fit into the list of corn, rice, and wheat? There was no separate listing for wild rice. This is all cultivated rice, and probably comes from shipping records. So how much wild rice would there be? I can't think that there would be nearly as many as anything else. That 1.5 billion tons on the way here to Indiana, when Steve and I were driving, we were figuring out how many truckloads of
Yeah.
corn that would be. It works out to many millions, and there's probably not many millions of wild rice.
Nancy says.
Oat leaf grass. Well, that might be northern sea oats, Nancy. Usually it's about 3 feet tall, sometimes 4. And the blooms are flattened and hang down. They can look quite pretty in the winter, but it is the grass, northern sea oats, Chasmanthium latifolium. It's the grass mentioned in sowing your wild oats. It will come up everywhere, and it has a heck of a root on it. It's hard to pull out even when it's just a little tiny guy.
Great looking grass and seed pod, but it runs around.
Hey, Carol. Wild rice in the US and in California is the largest commercial producer. Yeah. We need to see how many tons they produced and try to put them on the rank. Okay. Any other questions? I don't see any.
No.
Okay, now the runners up. Don't let them trip you up. We're going to move on to the 4th and 5th most grown grains. They may surprise you, so we're going to give you some clues. Number 4 grain, you've probably eaten in soups and stews. It's an ingredient and a thickener. Its name rhymes with the first word of a brand of 2-wheel light vehicle. It's the 4th most grown grain in the world. Crew has got it.
Yeah.
It is barley.
Dang it. Sorry.
Sticking with barley. Well, not sticking with barley. Going to the number 5 grain. It's a gluten-free alternative to flour. They use it in cookies, cakes, muffins. Its name sounds like something that a dental hygienist does not want to hear after asking, so are you having any problems? Steve thought this was rather a groaner of mine. Well, I had to come up with something. People are thinking, they're thinking. Oh, psyllium, oats. Name sounds like an answer your dental hygienist does not want to hear.
Couscous.
Having any problems with your teeth since I saw you last? Couscous. Almond. Nope, it has to fit both things. Remember when we grew this?
Oh yeah.
This is a plant that I think it reached 18 feet in our yard. It's an annual grain, 18 feet tall. The neighbors were asking us, where did you get that really tall?
What the heck is that?
Yep. Sorghum. Sorghums. I know, I'm sorry, but I
Yeah, it's
needed a
her.
clue, I needed a clue, I needed a clue. Okay, the European Union's a big consumer of the number 4 grain barley. In the European Union, Germany and Belgium are the biggest buyers. What's the reason? Nancy says she has to make gluten-free foods and she needs
Yep.
the sorghum. Well, there's so many things that can be made into flour.
Beer.
John, barley corn must die, right? Beer and caps,
Beer,
said just. Yeah, you got it. Both countries are big brewer countries. I mean,
Big brewers.
not France and Italy don't measure up to
No.
the brewing there. And for those of you who weren't here, you should probably join us as a subscriber if you're not already, because Sonia and our daughter Sonia and our son-in-law Cam took us on a nice trip through Germany to see that that's a beer garden, and it goes in that direction from in all ways, and it's full every night. They do like their beer and their tatties and sausages. Carol says that the California being the number 1 producer of rice in the U.S. comes from sorry, Steve, roll it back up.
I can't.
There you go. Okay. That's the University of California Agronomy Institute. And Minnesota is the largest producer of wild rice. That I believe up in the 10,000 Lakes area, that's what they do. And it's a big industry in the indigenous tribes that are there. 45 of 87 counties have documented wild rice, you bet. We have a little break here, but it looks like we've got the questions.
Don't think so.
Carol, we'll have Carol sit in for Sonia. She's doing 2 and 3 things at once here. Isn't the internet wonderful? And I watch the grandkids and they know how to do TikTok and still have not learned how to read research. Rainbow eucalypt. This one is a paperbark maple.
Oops.
That is a
Crepe
crepe myrtle. Steve is always bringing me these pictures of crepe myrtle bark from when he takes trips down south of here. Because we can maybe grow crepe myrtle. I did for a little bit, but it's as a dieback plant, like butterfly bush. You cut it all the way back, it comes back. It never gets bark if it's only 1 year old.
Yep.
So he's always bringing me these beautiful pictures of bark. And what can you do with a beautiful picture? That's paperbark maple. And that's a red birch.
Red birch.
What, you're thinking it's an Ammermachia?
No, it's
Okay.
that I started to say that and realized no, it couldn't be.
Okay, now into fruits. Unless you've got questions, we got questions for you. The world has a favorite fruit. These are the top 5 fruits in terms of world production. You put them in order 1 to 5. What's the number 1 favorite fruit in the world? Off of this list. We're all across the board on the guesses here.
Yep.
And it's got all 5 of them.
Yeah, others do too.
Yeah. You guys are good.
So
Nobody's nailed it yet. People coming close.
you mean all
actually,
5?
all
No,
5.
no, we
Nobody's-
only
yeah.
asked that.
Yeah, okay. Number 1 is banana.
Number 2.
So number 2 is what? If banana is 1,
No, they all listed it there.
there we go. There we go.
Karen got it
You
right.
got it, Karen. Watermelon is number 2 in terms of total production, which means in terms of total consumption. No way. Yeah, that's we can't. This is counting tons of produce, tons of this crop produced.
I now realize when we were watching that Paul Simon in South Africa, a lot of the fruit stands had lots of different sized watermelons
sitting out there. Yep.
Yeah.
There we go. There's Carol saying it's very popular in Africa and Asia. Okay, weight-wise. Yes, there's weight-wise for the crops. because then they are then sold to people who turn them into fruit or turn them into canned fruit or juices or whatever else they're going to do with them. Okay, so number 3 is apple. Now, we were really surprised at 4 and 5. Yeah, the preponderance of responses are putting grape first, then orange. Probably thinking like we were thinking, that with all the wine that's drunk in the world, but
Yep.
no, orange is definitely number 4, grape is number 5. And you'd have to move the chart out of the way, the chat out of the way, Steve. But if you look at where bananas are as compared to everybody else, that's millions of tons produced. You're looking at 100, I think it's 124 million tons of bananas. 104 million tons. That's just beyond even thinking about it. If you look at watermelons, they're pretty well above apples.
Yeah, above the others. Well, they're heavier for sure.
Well, heavier isn't the,
What's in tons?
yeah, it is. It's always
Millions
it's
of
always
tons.
it's always in tons. Yeah. I was rooting for strawberry to be one of the ones on the list,
Yeah.
because especially now with the huge strawberries, the unreal strawberries that they're growing. Where do they even come up with these things? Mars? But
Yeah.
those are way down. Are there any questions?
That I
Not
noticed
in chat.
flashing through.
Okay.
Nope.
And we'll get away from the snow for a minute. Okay, now we got to dig for answers. Try not to get caught up in, what did I make that say? Oh, technicalities. Yes, yes. Well, I don't know. Which one is the root or tuber crop? That's the number 1 category, number 1 in its category in the world. Jean saying she brought strawberries at Costco and they were strawberries on steroids. Yes, exactly. The strawberries are as big as plums. Can't fool anybody on this one. It is the potato. You're right. And there's your chart, potato way above everybody else. But can't tell what the green is there.
Yeah, it's
Number
not on
2
the-
was cassava, I think, or sweet potato. You have to move the bar at the bottom. We have a lot of things on our screen you can't see.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a cassava. A whole lot of the world beats up, mashes cassava and uses it as flour, as a filler, as a cereal, you name it. No, the not getting caught up in technicalities. What's a fruit and what's a vegetable? I learned it as a fruit is the product of a flower. If the flower itself is turning into an edible thing, then it's a fruit. If you're eating the leaves, stems, or other parts of the flower of the plant, then it's a vegetable. But didn't really kind of work that way. What is taro in terms of vegetable or fruit? Taro is a root crop. You've grown elephant ear, I think, probably, Nancy. Elephant ear is taro. The elephant ears we grow are grown for ornament, but taro itself is grown to dig up that root, and then you pound it and mash it. East Polynesian area, Southeast Asia, big at that. Not familiar.
With cassava.
Well, watch out about not being familiar with foods, because then you'll be like my brother-in-law who loves to cook and keeps finding that he has to go and buy some more things to try out these recipes that he gets for cassava. I have not eaten cassava before. And David says, thank you, McDonald's, for the potatoes being number 1.
Especially the one type tomato.
Russet Burbank potatoes. Now, this might not be true anymore, but at one point, must have been 10, 12 years ago, it was reported that you couldn't grow potatoes commercially unless you grew Russet Burbank. And that was because Russet Burbank variety of potato was what McDonald's specified. And if you couldn't sell to McDonald's, you might not sell your crop, which meant that we were all growing the same clone of potato. I don't think that's the case now. I hope it's not. Or fruit has skin outside and seed inside. Seed is a part of the whole idea of a fruit, that the
Yeah.
flower is making the fruit. Susan wants to know how to manually pollinate a squash like this. A squash, watermelon, and pumpkin, all those in the cucurbit family with the cucumbers. It's generally shown done with a soft paintbrush, like a kid's paintbrush.
Reaching way down in
Just a
there.
little paintbrush, and you're gonna reach into a male flower. These are all male flowers. The female flowers have a
Oh.
enlarged ovary. They have a little bitty zucchini. There's one coming up there. They have a little bitty zucchini
Yeah.
or pumpkin already below the flower. If it's a male flower, it's got pollen, and you reach in and grab some of the pollen on and get it. You don't need very much of it, but you
No.
get some of it onto the paintbrush, and then you put that paintbrush into a female flower that's open and sticky. The center part of the flower will have a little bit of moisture on it, and it's ready to take pollen then. So you have to find a male flower and a female flower ready at
Yep.
the same time. Oh, Ruth used a Q-tip on zucchini. Sure, anything that can
Yep.
that the
They can
pollen can
hold the
stick
pollen
to.
too.
The pollen's very tiny grains, so the static charge alone would hold it to things. Tapioca, cassava starch. This is great. Jocelyn's looking up things for us. She looked up the cassava starch is used to make tapioca,
That's pretty cool.
but it's also cereal and flour. Yep.
She went to her
At
neighbor's
his house for the male plant. You have to sneak over and say, I need to borrow.
gardeners.
I need a gigolo zucchini, right? Yeah.
Okay.
There are so many kinds of gourds and pumpkins and wonderful things. I know pumpkins are big in Africa. Okay. If you can make the list of the top most grown vegetable crops. And we're using vegetable the way that the UN defines it. And that this is their list, but which are the most sold, most grown vegetable to the fifth grown vegetable. Funny that hides completely on my screen.
Hmm.
Uh-oh. Everybody's getting up. Boy, you guys are fast typers too.
Yeah.
If I could type that fast, we might not have. Yeah,
They're
cabbage.
up there with Sonia.
I will tell you the cabbage slipped, according to the UN report, cabbage slipped down, had been much more popular. Onions and cucumber, you got it, zipped up.
Should
So
go.
tomato is number one by a long, long shot. Onion number two, and the UN specifies that they included shallots in there. Then the cucumber, then the cabbage, which used to be higher on the list. And then eggplant, give me a break. Eggplant, yes, eggplant, number five. Over all the other vegetables that are out there, over broccoli for crying out loud. Oh,
Don't understand, but
yeah.
teach their own.
Eggplant. And look at how much of a lead tomato has in the dark blue line to everything else. Pretty amazing, huh?
Yeah.
And where this is what it says about the cabbage. Cucumbers rose up, cabbages rained down. Tomatoes accounted for the largest share and remained stable. 16% of share of the market all the time. Tomato sauces, raw tomatoes. I mean, it's
A
used
lot of
in
Italian
everything.
cooks. Eggplants are Italian.
Over carrot, yes, Susan, over carrots. Although I looked and I thought, well, we call the carrot a vegetable, but it's a root.
It's a root. It's a tuber.
I found it in the root and tuber crops, and it didn't approach the
That
potatoes and the
way,
cassavas and the, yeah. Okay, so we got questions. Judith is mentioning that Indian cuisine uses tomatoes too. And I am absolutely slain by how many places use tomatoes and peppers in their traditional cuisine. And it couldn't have gotten there until the 1500s, because they both came from South America, Central and South America.
Lovely snow.
Yeah, there's our stalks standing up in the
Yeah.
snow. So pretty.
Where so dark.
Okay, now, one last little bit here. There's an elephant in the room in this category of questions we're giving you. There's a very common food that's grown in even greater quantity than any grain, root, fruit, or vegetable.
Any of them.
Worldwide annual production is 70% more than the number one grain, and nearly twice the number two grain. What is it? This is a very common food, obviously, if it's growing that much of it.
Plant-based.
People are thinking,
There's
people are thinking hard. Grass. Ah, we got some people catching on now. I would go,
soy is a-
I would go with soy too, but
that was my first guess.
soy was in their oil crops group, and so I looked at the numbers, and the numbers didn't bear out. What is it? You ready? Ah, people have been thinking for a minute here. You're
Like
right.
the nuts guess, but sugar cane,
It's sugarcane.
not even close.
Not even close. How much? Steve and I were figuring on the way here that it would take 95 million semi-trucks to take the 1.9 billion tons of sugarcane from one place to another, and that would have to cross the United States at least 33 times, and we don't have that many interstate highways, so we could just load it up everywhere. Sugarcane, way above anything else.
Between
So-
sugar cane and corn syrup, I both.
and
corn syrup
alcohol, they use it
and
in
alcohol.
fermentations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in everything, let's face it.
And if it's not sugar, it's
And the
it's
sugar
fake
beets,
sugar.
sugar beets have fallen off some, but the sugar crops they put together, you can forget that they're together. Together they are over 2.5 billion, that's with a B, tons. But by itself, sugarcane is 1.9 billion tons.
Yep.
Okay, so sugarcane's the biggest. Who produces most of it? I would not begin to remember the name of the book. It was 30 years ago, but there was a book about sugar's introduction from the tropics into the rest of the world, and it was scary how much sugar was part of the trade and people, and yeah. Jamaica for sugar, yeah, Jamaica, but you're right.
You
it is
always
pretty-
think of the islands, the sugar isle, the
because
Caribbean
of-
islands as
And
sugar.
Texas and Louisiana used to do a lot of sugar cane, but they don't do so much of it anymore.
Couple.
Yeah, we got a couple that are right on here. All right, it's Brazil. So where is the rainforest going?
To sugar.
Yep, to sugar, to feed the sweet tooth. The world is addicted to sugar. Okay, we do have a couple of actual questions in just a few minutes to talk about them. So let's do that. Thank you for playing along.
Yeah. That was
It's a lot of kitchen scraps. So to go back to last Friday, just thinking about the corn, it's a lot of kitchen scraps. I made a chicken, threw in some potatoes and carrots into the stew pot. And those are the peelings and the broken carrots. And Steve bought bananas and I bought bananas, too many bananas. I stuck them in the fridge, sliced them up, put them outside, put them in the compost, do something with them. I mean, can you imagine that many billion tons, that many million semi-trucks loads of compost being wasted every year? The bananas are a great source of potassium, and a lot of our soils in the Midwest are lean in potassium, and all of them are great organic matter for the soil. It's a beautiful picture, Steve. That in Scotland. Palm oil is also a
Yes.
destroyer. Palm oil is awful. And it's in so many different things, but there are companies working on alternatives to palm oil.
But not so
Now it's a
much
race.
sugar.
It's a race. We have another question here. Okay. possible to like lichen.
Oh,
You wanna
lichens.
remember how to pronounce the word lichen. Remember that you like lichen. Judith was out this week knocking the snow. They got some heavy snow in Boston. My sister had to shovel her way out. And she was knocking the snow off of her Rose of Sharon and sent this to us. She said, "What is that on the Rose of Sharon?" She says, "It feels almost like a pine tree." It's, you have a combination of moss and lichen on there. Sonia's there taking a picture of a lichen. Lichen is there's 5 categories of life on Earth as we know it now: bacteria, fungus, algae, plants, and animals. And the fungus and algae get together to make a lichen. There's still, and maybe always will be, a contest over some of these funguses can't grow. Some of these, some fungus cannot grow unless they have an algae within them. Some algae cannot grow unless they have a fungus around them, and those we call lichens. They're classified under fungus, but there's a big controversy over whether they belong someplace else. And they make these smooth or flaky, or sometimes little projections will stick out, surfaces on the ground, on rocks, or on woody plants.
Yep.
They don't bother the plant, not the lichens. For the most part, they are simply using the woody plant to get up into the light. And there are at least 20,000 species of them. You're looking here at this picture, there are probably 4 different lichens growing together
I think
here.
I counted 6. Because some of the black is actually the lichen.
Yeah.
Too.
Some of the kind of cyan green there is maybe one of the ones called green shield lichen. But these are fungus fungus can build things. Algae can make food. So the 2 of them get together. Algae needs a place to live. Fungus makes a formation and the algae lives inside. Some of them have a cyanobacteria in their too or instead of the algae, but it's a combination. It's a symbiosis. And some people say it's a whole ecosystem. It's not. We shouldn't be giving it a species name.
Yeah.
But they're self-sufficient. They've built their own house. They're feeding themselves. They're not taking anything from the plants.
But they're also used by hummingbirds in their nests.
Yeah, the green shield, what's that one
Come and
called?
grab
Yeah, they
like
come and grab.
the
So,
soft one.
and this is why we ask you if you can send us a full resolution picture. We know it takes up a
Well,
lot
see,
of
I
room.
was even pointing to the wrong.
Yeah, you were
wrong
pointing to the
thing.
moss.
I was.
But if you look there, the moss is the dark green fuzzy stuff.
Here,
But if
that's the lichen.
You see the lichen there? Probably a green shield, maybe a green shield lichen. I wouldn't even begin to guess anymore on what kind of lichen. I think they're all beautiful.
Cool.
Funguses have to have something else to give them nourishment, decaying wood, decaying animal bodies, something. But once they've got a algae trapped inside or in partnership, then they can live on their own. So conchs, the fungus that we see coming out on dead wood, they're fungus alone. Lichens often get blamed for things. One of our clients said, "It's killing my quince tree."
Mhm.
And I said, "No, it's not." She said, "But there's more of it every year." There's more of it every year because the quince tree is dying back and losing leaves and more light is getting through. And so the lichen is proliferating, but it is not hurting the plant. It's not hurting the bark. It's not hurting it. This is a dogwood tree that the same thing. Karen told me, I got to get this stuff off the branches. It's killing it. I said, "No, what's killing it is that it goes straight into the ground. And if you pull everything back and look, you can see it's rotting the bark and rotting the plant at the bottom."
Yeah.
So lichen gets blamed for things, but does not do anything terrible to our plants. I use the book Lichens of the Northwoods. I love the way that it's set up. And these lichens have great names: field dog lichen, rippled camouflage lichen, elkhorn lichen, reindeer lichen. They have great names. In this book, you look and the tabs on the side tell you, did you find it on the ground, on a rock, or on a tree? And then within each of those groups, is it foliose? Is it crustose, where it's kind of laying flat? Is it foliose, where it looks like it has little leaves on it? Or is it, I forgot the name of the other one, but you can look by what you're looking at. You're not going to find all the lichens you're going to see in any one book. I have another book called The Lichens and Mosses of Michigan, but I can't find it. Probably loaned it to somebody. So the tabs on the side let you go, I'm looking at something on a rock. So I'm going to look in the orange section. And one of the things that lichens do is create soil on new land. So that stuff on the rock is actually growing into the rock. It's got little footholds on it. They're not roots. They're not taking anything out of the rock, but they are breaking it up over time. It takes thousands of years, but they are making things. So the color on those boulders are lichens. There may be mosses on there too.
Yeah.
The color, spots of color on the rocks. And one of the things that's nice about lichens is that most of them do not grow where the air is bad. Lichens are taking all of their nutrients from the air, from the water, and they don't have a way to excrete pollutants. So for instance, in the 40s and 50s, when all of the nuclear testing was going on, in the United States and Russia and China and India, a lot of radioactive material got put into the atmosphere, and it ended up in lichens. And the caribou that eat lichens, they paw aside the snow and eat lichens, were eating this stuff. And then the indigenous people who were eating the caribous had a spike in leukemia and various kinds of cancers. So they don't grow well where the air isn't good. So they're actually being used in many places as an indicator of air quality. And by mapping which lichens you find on trees, you can tell that you are getting pollution out of that factory or whatever it is that's there. So Judith, you've got a healthy tree, healthy Rosa Sharon. The moss may be indicating that there's a lot of moisture in that area because most of the mosses need more moisture. Lichen in the coal mine, right? Instead of a canary, we'll put a lichen down there with us. They are beautiful though. I think they're just great. Okay, I think we're about ready to end here. Okay, I'm glad you thought that was fun.
Sorry,
Um,
moving it.
we will, if you will give me back control so we can go to the end.
Okay.
Go to the end. So if there are a couple of questions, we can stick around for a few minutes, but I'm glad you found this fun. We found it fun to put together, but we'd love to hear your questions, the things that it brought to your mind. Now it's time to go outside and look around. Someone asked about the gunnera that we showed the sprouts, the crowns. That was
Oops.
gunnera that you can stand under. So,
Okay.
wrap up this Free4All Friday. Thank you for being with us. We're glad to do it. The next time we'll be here for Free4All Friday is February 7th, because next Friday,
Okay.
we are not going to be doing Free4All Friday, but on Saturday, we're doing our next webinar, Goofy Gardeners, Pruning for Less, Seeding for More. Any of you who are not subscribers but would like to subscribe, if you send us an email, we're not going to blast it out to everybody. If you send us an email, you can try a one webinar trial and see if you want to stay on with us. So send us an email, Janet and Stephen at gardenatoz.org. Will get to us, Janet and Stephen.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Have a great night and take care.